guys, so does anyone else see like movies like Twilight and stuff, and you keep thinking, I have a book I would love to see as a movie, but you've never seen them even try? It could just be the author doesn't want it made into a movie, or different things like that, but you really wish they would. I have a few here. The first one I would like to be seen as a movie is Three Dark Crowns, which this one has a novelette and 4 different books in the series, and it is a perfect read. If you like dark, feminine power-based things, where the whole entire cast is mainly female and the men have no power, this book is a really good read. And also I love the fact that they use the idea of like someone who can control the earth side, someone who controls all the elements, someone who controls the plants, and they have different ones. Like the 3 main characters are Mirabella, Katarine, and Arsinoe. Arsinoe is a naturalist who actually she was born a poisoner, but she ended up becoming a naturalist, which that's explained more inside the novelette. So I would recommend, if you're going to buy this series, buy the novelette. I mean, people think it's not worth the money. It is. It explains why, 1, they don't have Oracle Queens anymore, and why, 2, Arsinoe and Katarine's abilities was changed by their mother before she left the island. And it explains why she thought this was the best idea. But then, like, right here, this crown is supposed to stand for Arsinoe. It's a naturalist crown. They have control over plants, flowers. They have a familiar. Then there is the elemental crown right here. That is by Mirabella, the eldest triplet. And they have, they control all the elements. They control, like, the wind, the fire, water, things like that. And then you also have the poisoner crown down here, which is for Katarine. And they are said to be able to ingest any type of poison possible, and they will live because that's how they're made. They do have 2 other gifts that are available from the goddess inside the book. The War Gifted, which means that they have kinetic abilities to send a weapon from them at their opponent. There is also the second one, which is also the Oracle Gift, which they do not allow to become queen anymore, which is explained better inside the novelette than I could ever explain. But this is what I wish would become an actual like TV show or something, because this is such a good book and it's so worth the read. But then the next one I have is this one, Stalking Jack the Ripper. And I've spoken about this one before. I love the book, but I realized I suck at reading when I've read it. But this one is all about Audrey Rose, who is a socialite inside of the time when Jack the Ripper is around. And that means she had power. She was part of the rich upper class people. They didn't have to stress as much. But she wants to go investigate it, and I'd love to see a real life Audrey Rose doing the whole entire really cute flirting with the boy inside the book and things like that. I love it, and I think it'd be so beautiful to see on the screen. This one I would recommend actually a movie, not a TV show, because while all 4 books could be turned into a TV show, it would get too confusing the way it is. But I think a movie of all 4 would be perfect, and also would be a great way to introduce a young woman into the idea of science and anatomy, because she goes into it a lot and there's a lot of detail they could use. But that is one I would love to see made into an actual show. Another one is, I've seen this one actually floated around a few times to a few networks, is Mocked. And this is about a girl named Zoe Redbird, and her real name is Zoe Montgomery, but she changed it because when you join the House of Night you can actually change your name. And she turns into a vampire, and she finds out she is a very powerful vampire throughout the series. There's a lot of books, so I would recommend actually a series, like a TV show, than an actual movie on these, because you'd have to put about 3 to 4 books into one movie to make it make sense, which means it'd only be about 2 or 3 movies long. But this one does come with 4 different novelettes to explain different characters. There's Dragon's Oath, which explains one of the teachers there, Dragon, who is the fencing teacher and becomes a big deal inside the series. There is also Lenora's Vow. She, again, is another teacher there who actually teaches equestrian studies and actually works with horses. And her tattoos are actually horses right here. And for those who don't know, the whole entire trend where you had tattoos swirling around your face actually started with books like this. This is not one of the first ones that did it, but it is one of the books that did it and made a lot of people want to do a certain design inside the center and tattoos going down with the crescent moon. that more came from the series like these that were coming out inside the early 2010s and things like that. But I would like to see this one as a movie as well. The next one would actually be Bone Witch. And this one I love because of the fact that it explains a history of about a place, but also it tells a very good story. And in the beginning it gets kind of confusing because you don't understand that they actually do is they actually go back in time through a lot of the book, explaining Tia's story, how she became called Tia the Embers, how she became the Bone Witch that's exiled, things like that. But I do think it'd be cool to see like the monsters and this whole story played out on the screen, because the fact is it's such a cool, dramatic way of the book that is so cool, and it just makes it worth it. But, I mean, the book does drag on sometimes, but also if you were to put it into the screen, it'd be a perfect movie, because those dragging on parts, you could easily just have them training and do a training montage, and it'd be perfectly fine. But this one is really good, and, like, the back even has this little blur saying, "Let me be clear, I never intended to raise my brother from his grave, though he may claim otherwise. If there's anything I've learned from him in the years since, is that the dead hide truth as well as the living." And the whole entire premise is that a Bone Witch can bring the dead back. And they are big dinosaur-like monsters that they have to bring back. Well, they're more dragon-like because they do have wings. So I'm going to say dragon-like, not dinosaur, even though I do kind of get a visualization of dinosaurs with some of their descriptions. But they come back, and throughout it, she has to re-kill them to constantly take the jewel that they use for healing. But unfortunately, to do that also means she slowly has to kill herself in the process. And they explain it better, like how these dragon creatures came, how they were made, things like that. So I would love to see this one on the screen. Another one I'd love to see is The 100th Queen. One more thing about this one, there are all 3 books in it, so I would recommend a movie for each one, because these 3 books are so detailed and so good that after only 3 chapters, you're dragged straight into that story. You ain't leaving that book until you finish all 3, and I can tell you that much. But another one I'd like to see is called The 100th Queen. And this one is all about how it goes off of Sumerian deities, but she does leave inside the beginning a disclaimer saying that, right here, author note, the religion of the Taurachan Empire, the Parisian faith, is a fictional variation derived from the Sumerian deities. However, the Polynesian faith and the Taurachan Empire do not directly represent any historical time period, creed, or union. Any other religious or government scenarios or consequences do not script actual people or events. I mean, she does make it quite clear she's using the idea of those gods, but she does not use them inside a way that would be disrespectful or rude. But I do like the fact that of the actual trials of it all, because while it'd be very bloody, it would actually do very well, because the trials are that every single time she ends up being taken by the Sultan of the Taurachan Empire. And every single time he takes a new wife, he can do what is called a huge entire party brawl for the new wife. That means she physically has to kill or fight the concubines who want to marry the emperor, who want to marry the Sultan instead. And so to do that, they have to physically kill them off, and that means that they're going to have to go out of their way to end a life. But in reality, what happens is that as they're doing it, she realizes that she's in love with the god and she does not want to die. But she ends up beating out a lot of people. Like, she ends up beating out her own aunt, who is actually number 1. And the whole entire belief is that you can only have 100 wives. The Sultan already has 99 other wives. This is his 100th. If he marries her, he'll become the biggest ruler out of all of the empires around them, because that's how their religion is written. And I like the idea of it. I would love to see the actual idea of her going to the palace, what happened with her aunt, the love story. I would love to see that on the big screen. And like this one says, the very top word is, he wanted a warrior queen. He got a revolutionary. Which I think is really interesting, and it's about a woman named Kalinda, who was an orphan at the time, but it turns out her father was actually a Buddha, who inside of this book, it actually means that her father had powers over one of the elements. They are called burners, things like that, and she's actually a burner, and her dad was a leader of the Buddhas for a long time, until he met her mom, who was the Sultan's #1 wife. So the Sultan found out about it and ended up killing him, but she gave birth and had the baby hidden before the Sultan could even meet it. So the Sultan said she had a dead boy. But in reality, she did not. Kalinda lived and moved on, but she was never the Sultan's kid. So the only way to keep her safe was to hide her, but the Sultan ends up coming back later and finding her again because she looked like her mother too much. Sultan just couldn't say no. But I would like to see that one on the screen. That one does have 4 books inside the series, and I would recommend it if you're someone who really likes someone standing up for what they believe in, someone who is not willing to be pushed back down, someone who is not afraid to kill if they have to for the ones they love. It's a really good story. The last one I have is actually this one called The Moon and the Palace, and I've spoken about it before. It's about Empress Wu. And I would like to see this on the silver screen because, in reality, the idea of the ancient courts is still entertaining to a lot of people nowadays. And I would love to see it personally because I would love to see how they could change the way this book is written into an actual either series or a movie, because it's written in such a way that I don't think it could be taken out of the book, but I would love to see them try and see exactly what that is. And that one has 2 inside of it. But those are some books I would love to see in the series personally. If you guys have any others, please let me know. But it's great talking to you guys. Bye!